Edmond, Oklahoma, known today as nothing less than one of the finest cities that the Midwest has to offer. You'll find Edmond nestled between Oklahoma's state capital, Oklahoma City, and the original state capital, Guthrie. Known for its sense of community and an intriguing quality of lifestyle, Edmond is home to over 83,000 people and growing, yet it still maintains a small-town feel. Edmond offers unique shopping, wonderful restaurants, beautiful parks, and countless recreational amenities. Families have the opportunity to live in the midst of the city action or enjoy sights slightly off the beaten path, while still within the city limits. But how did Edmond become the destination it is today? You might be surprised to know that its roots began as nothing more than a watering hole. Let's go back to 1866, when Oklahoma was still known as Indian Territory. At the time, many Native American tribes were facing repercussions for siding with the Confederacy during the Civil War. Reconstruction treaties redrew the lines of ownership in the Midwest, opening up new so-called unassigned lands that were ready for habitation. Railroad companies and homesteaders were eager to expand into the 2 million acres. They pushed their congressmen to open the vast prairie to the public domain. The establishment of Edmond as a station along the Santa Fe Railroad line began in 1884. On July 4th of that year, Congress granted a construction contract to the Southern Kansas Railway Company to lay a railroad line from Kansas right through the unassigned lands of Indian Territory. By the spring of 1887, 15 surveyors left Arkansas City, Kansas, laying out a new route to Gainesville, Texas, and marking potential sites for coal and water stations. In the area now known as downtown Edmond, the surveyors documented their first observation of the town, noting that it had a good spring. The area was first named Mile Marker 103, indicating the number of miles from Arkansas City. Expansion of the railroad system soon followed, with hard-working crews building tracks at a rate of 1.5 miles a day. The first priority for Edmonds Station was the construction of a water well and a coaling station, so that passing locomotives could fill their tanks and fuel their engines. In the 19th century, steam engines without tenders had to stop every 10 miles to refill their water supply and to keep their boilers replenished. The first family to call mile marker 103 their home was the Steen family. John Steen was an experienced Santa Fe Railroad worker, employed as an engineer, fireman, conductor, and brakeman before coming to Edmond. Steen was brought in from New Mexico in the winter of 1886 to complete the massive water well alongside the railroad tracks. Under his supervision, road crews hand-dug the well with picks and shovels to an eventual depth of 130 feet. The well was 24 feet across and lined with 2 feet of rock to prevent the walls from collapsing. The well was then covered with a conical roof to keep the water clean. Nearby, a large water tank was built on stilts, strategically close to the railroad track. Trains would stop and fill up their tenders using up to 3,600 gallons of water, along with 5 tons of coal for a 100-mile trip. Back then, a ton of coal was $1.88. Only one passenger and one freight train passed through each day. John Steen and Santa Fe crews also built a small red pump house that delivered water from the well to the water tank. The pump house also served as a home for John, his wife Cordelia, and their son Charlie. In the wintertime, the boiler and pumps inside provided extra heat, keeping the family warm. In the summer, the Steens would set up cots and sleep outside. They spent their first Christmas at the pump house, decorating the branch of a blackjack oak tree in the winter of 1888. This photograph depicts the first Christmas in Edmond's history. Charlie Steen received a rocking horse as his present that day. You can see a light dusting of snow on the ground and a bird cage hanging on the outside wall. Young Charlie Steen grew to adulthood in Edmond. He would later recall how his mother cooked meals for hungry train crews, how his father hunted deer from the front door of their pump house home, and how blanketed Indians would sometimes come to trade fresh meat for flour and coffee. Today, these railroad tracks still run through the heart of downtown Edmond. For over 120 years, freight has been moved along these same tracks, even as the landscape around them changed significantly. What was once a vast prairie of buffalo wallows, wagon roads, and a few wooden buildings has become a lively community with paved four-lane roads, brick homes, and bustling businesses. Learn more about the history of Edmond, its first settlers, and the railroad by visiting the Edmond Historical Society and Museum at 431 South Boulevard.